As a nonprofit research institute of Underwriters Laboratories, Chemical Insights is on the forefront of researching emerging chemical safety threats facing people today and developing solutions for reducing these risks for the protection of human health. Chemical Insights' core mission is to help protect the health of people and the planet. Over 7 million people die annually from toxic indoor and outdoor air pollution, and more than 90% of our children are exposed to daily levels of air pollution exceeding recommended levels. At Chemical Insights, we are working to change that by combining the best minds with rigorous research to understand sources of pollution and how to reduce human exposure. Chemical Insights has unique exposure chambers that allow us to evaluate sources of pollution, how people are exposed, and at what level. This technology, combined with our expert scientific staff and advanced analytical techniques, allow us to identify and measure chemical exposure down to the parts per billion levels. This is important since the air we breathe at any time can contain anywhere from 100 to 1,000 different volatile organic chemicals. We are beginning to measure the toxicity of this complex mixture using new cellular assay measures.
The ENDS work with Chemical Insights, and ENDS is an acronym that stands for Electronic Nicotine Delivery Systems. Looks like a set of experiments we do with many different types of devices, including devices that are refillable and rechargeable, as well as devices that are single use or only a couple of uses. And we do a set of experiments where we use a machine to activate the device instead of, in place of a human. And the machine will generate puffs. We have a set protocol for the number of puffs we do. We create puffs, we collect the sample from those puffs at different age points, and then we analyze those samples for some of the physical and chemical characteristics of the emissions from the ENDS devices, as well as some of the toxicological characteristics. We've seen a couple of major findings so far that relates to human health. We have noticed that the exposure to emissions from ENDS devices creates oxidative stress in cells that are exposed to these emissions. It also changes the metabolic rates of some of the cells that are exposed to them as well. We've seen evidence of DNA damage to cells that are exposed to ENDS emissions as well. So delivering nicotine to a person in this way also is delivering things that we know to be toxic to a human at the same time.
At the Center for Toxicology and Human Health, our goal is to empower our stakeholders with actionable data. Our approach within the center is to work together as a cohesive unit to measure environmental pollution and link it to human health outcomes. We are focused on generating human exposure data using our unique real-time exposure chambers and analytical measurement capabilities for aerosols and chemicals associated with consumer product usage. Key to our research is the utilization of robust 2D and 3D in vitro model systems. These in vitro systems help us simulate and identify critical events and responses to exposures that may impact cellular viability, growth, and transformation, which will be characterized using high-throughput toxicity assays. Additionally, the use of cutting-edge instrumentation will be key to our success. One example is the CellTox Sampler, which is a robust in vitro exposure chamber capable of depositing chemical and particle emissions onto cultured cells or 3D tissue constructs to characterize the molecular and cellular outcomes after exposure. This system recently helped us characterize the toxicity of emissions generated during the use of different polymer filaments on low-emitting 3D printers using primary small airway epithelial cells cultured in air-liquid interface. Using this instrument, we show acute low-dose emission levels cause a decline in primary small airway epithelial cell viability, along with a reduction in respiratory antioxidants such as glutathione, which is critical for reducing oxidative stress within the lung. Lastly, we saw a significant increase in pro-inflammatory cytokines, growth factors, and enzymes such as IL-8, IL-6, VEGF, and MMP9, all of which have been implicated in respiratory disorders such as asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, pulmonary hypertension, and acute lung injury. Finally, our program is expanding to include human assessments that will focus on evaluating chemical exposure and potential biological outcomes in certain groups of consumers. The goal here is to identify novel biomarkers of exposure, injury, and disease susceptibility that may be related to cellular events observed in our in vitro assessments, which may enhance our ability to identify mechanisms that mediate adverse health outcomes. We were recently awarded an NIH National Institute of Dental and Craniofacial Research grant to fund this type of research that will provide methods to aid in future studies here at the Center for Toxicology and Human Health.
At Chemical Insights, we believe in the basic human right to breathe air that is free of harmful chemical and particle pollution. We will remain passionate and committed to expanding our scientific staff, measurement capabilities, and research facilities. This will allow us to take a leadership role in improving the air we breathe, extending lives, and helping consumers make better decisions for healthy living.